Let's get ready while I tell you how I got a death sentence before my 30th birthday. At the ripe age of 29, I started noticing some really strange tightness in my calf, and I noticed that I was walking really, really slowly. I did not think much of it because I was 29, so I was like, oh, I must have just Pilated too close to the sun. But that calf tightness turned into a limp on my left side. I was living in New York City at the time. It is not a place to walk slowly, so people very quickly started pointing out that I had a limp. So I ran to my sister, who's a doctor, and she had me walk on my heels. As I was walking on my heels, my right foot was able to walk on the heel. My left foot would just slam down into the ground. And that was kind of the kickoff point for a 4-year run of trying to get a diagnosis. I went to every type of doctor you could imagine. I had every type of test you could imagine. I mean, at one point they brought up polio. That's how deep we were going. They brought up ALS about 2 years into that 4-year journey, but because it was only affecting one of my limbs at this point, my left foot, it wasn't enough for them to be able to give an ALS diagnosis or even be certain that it was ALS. Then 4 years into this journey, my right foot started acting up. So that was the point where I was able to get an official diagnosis of ALS, also known as Lou Gehrig's disease, also known as the disease that Stephen Hawking had before he became an island boy. So when you get diagnosed, they tell you you have 2 to 5 years to live, probably, and there's a couple medications that might slow things down, but they're not totally sure, and that there's no cure, and they tell you that you are going to go paralyzed, you're going to lose the ability to move, to talk, to swallow, to breathe, all of it. So that day sucked, and so did the following couple months. I pretty much crawled into bed and ate like a pack of M&Ms a day, and a couple months in, I had a friend's wedding where I was a bridesmaid. I show up to this wedding using a walker in a bridesmaid's dress that's like way too tight because of all the M&Ms. I basically turned to my friend and I was like, let's leave, and she was like, or we can make this really fun. And so like half hour later, we had the bride limboing under my walker, and I was giving walker rides all over the dance floor. And that was the point where I was like, okay, we gotta live life in dog years here. Like if I'm being told 2 to 5 years, we gotta make every one of those years worth 7. It's kind of like, when you live in New York City, you never do any of the tourist attractions because you're like, oh, I'll always have time for that. Versus if you go to New York City for 1 week, you do everything because you're like, I don't know when I'm going to be back. I feel like that's my life. I'm not sure how much time I'm going to have, so I'm going to do it all and have so much fun and act like a tourist of my own life. I'm now 35, so I've had symptoms for 6 years, diagnosed for almost 2 years, with my cute little death sentence. So feel free to ask me any questions below. Love ya.